Welcome back, everyone, for another edition of the Golden Ticket Show, Week 18. Breaking down today's slate, one game at a time for you guys, prepare you guys for this weekend. That and the best bets for tonight and how you're going to profit for the last week of the season, all that and more coming up next. Welcome back, everyone. We are here. We're live for another episode of the Golden Ticket Show. My name's Dan with Gotham Gambling. I'm really excited for today's slate. It's going to be a very interesting one, at least in my book. So we're going to go ahead and lock all these in. We're going to break it. We're going to do a little bit of a longer show than our normal Sunday shows because there was no, for fantasy's sake, this week. Our final week was week 17 last week. So we're going to break down all the 1 p.m. games, and if we have time, we'll do the 4 p.m. If not, we'll run through those real quick because we might be able to get through them all because there are some games that just have no point in betting on them. Even the books aren't even putting lines out for them. So let's break them down one by one. We're going to, if you had followed us last week, we have just been on some kind of a heater. If you had followed us going into week 18, let's look at some of these that we hit in the last week. We hit Texans money line last night. We hit Green Bay at plus money against Minnesota. We hit the under in the Denver Chargers game. We got Houston -4 in their 23-point blowout. We got Chicago money line. We lost just off Denver, absolutely blowing it against New England. But dating all the way back to the 17th, we are 23-16 in the month of December on NFL. So we're going, and we had an iffy week last week. We didn't have a lot last week just because I was just with family, wanted to enjoy the time off. But we're back. We're here, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the first game that shows up on Action Report, which is Browns versus Bengals. Now, the big thing to look at here, if you notice, the odds of this game started at 3.5 with the news Flacco was not playing. Cooper's not going to be playing. This line did kick up just a bit as we're looking at the Browns injury report right now. No Amari Cooper, no Dustin Hopkins. They're going with a backup kicker. No Myles Garrett. Marquise Goodwin is questionable. Elijah Moore is questionable. And they're pretty much sitting everyone except for Jerome Ford and their main and Njoku from their main focal point in their offense with a fifth string quarterback going in Driscoll. I think that one's going to be just a little bit too much for. I think this game is just not even worth touching. They don't really even have player props out. When I did everything this morning, none of the lines are worth even touching. So we're obviously not taking anything there. Good morning to you too, DJ. Good morning to everyone who is tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in on this early morning broadcast. So as we can see here, the big thing is that a lot of the public bets are going towards the Browns, but a lot of the big money is heading towards the Bengals way to cover a 7.5 spread, which it's just a bit too much for me. I just decided to stay away from that. I think so. The big insight I'm looking at here is at the money line. Bengals are 17-5 straight up as a favorite in their last 2 seasons. But that was with Burrow. This is with Browning. Both teams have struggled in home road splits on the spread this year. So that's one reason I'm taking away from it. The big one I'm focusing on is actually right down here. As you can see, a lot of people are with me or against me on this one. Is I like the over here. I did not. It's not one of my bets. Actually, no, I'm lying. I did take the under here. As I'm relooking at my card, but so and the reason why it's kind of an iffy. I only put a half unit play on this is this. The Browns are 7-0 on the road this season, and they've hit the over in 4 of their 7 games as an underdog this year. It's not the big sample size because the lineups have been switching up so much, but that would be the only reason to take the over. But there is a system in play here, as I'm going to pull this one up, and it is this system for the Browns-Bengals game, and it's a system used for high wins. Now, what this system is really doing is all time, this is 108 units. It has a 10% return on investment. There's 4 games that fit this system, as you see right here: Carolina, Cleveland, Dallas, and Seattle. I think we actually took 3 of these, but the average wind speed being between 10 and 50 miles an hour, temperature about normal temperature, basically anything above freezing, taking the under the game, and with the winds above 10 miles an hour, the under has hit in 600 of the last 1,050 games. It has a 10% return on investment, and with a where was the unit percentage? I just saw it. With a 108 unit profit. So that means if you would bet $100 on that, you would be up about $10,000 right now if you would be betting this system. There's some more over here on Action Network that has everything from like games, halves, everything for like neutral court games for basketball. So that's one thing I always encourage people, check these out. They're the best over at Action Network. But as you can see, actually the money line the spread's actually moving a bit. It went down from 53 to 52 on this game, but I just don't see any reason why this game's going to go over. I don't see any reason to touch any of that. The only real incentive for any player is Joe Mixon. He needs 2 touchdowns for a $100,000 bonus, and they really don't have anything to lose in this game. Other than that little half unit I put on the under last night, I'm staying away from this one. The only other play I would say is worth touching is if you want to take Mixon anytime touchdown. Him to get 2 touchdowns is a plus 550 right now on DraftKings and BetMGM. But we're just going to stay with a 0.5 play on the under here. And we're going to go on to the Bucks-Panthers game. Now, this is a big game for multiple reasons. The Bucks need a win here to make the playoffs and ensure they win the division. But also the big thing that I have noticed so far is that the Bucks have split every single season series this season between divisional opponents. They're 1-1 against the Falcons, 1-1 against the Saints, and they're currently 1-0 against the Panthers. I think Tampa Bay money line it's a little too undervalued here, as we're looking at it right here at money line. We got -205. It was -225 this morning. I think you could add that with something like Mike Evans or Rachaad White, or you could even add that with like a Cowboys money line and lower the odds on that just a bit for a parlay. But as you can see, the interesting thing for this one is that the Panthers are the underdog here, but there's a 38% difference in the amount of bets being placed for the Panthers and the amount of money, which usually means that a lot of the sharps and a lot of the big names are betting a lot on the Panthers to cover here. My projections have the Panthers covering this spread, but I just wouldn't take it either way. I think this is too big of a high emotion game. The real thing is there's a lot of situations going on in the NFC South, but the easiest one is just simply a Buccaneers win clears them all out. So looking at player props, there's 2 players I'm really, really targeting here, and it is simply Mike Evans and Rachaad White. So I'm going to pull up over on our best friend Action Network. I'm going to pull up the stats for Mike Evans and the stats for Rachaad White in terms of receiving yards. So check, and rushing yards for Rachaad White. So check this out real quick. So obviously he's had 2 good games and a bad game and then 2 good games. or he's went over 2, missed 2. But here's the big thing I'm looking at. In his last 4 games, he's had 89 or more yards in every single one of them. He's getting about 12 targets a game against the Panthers. And not to mention that, but they took the stat down. Where is it? Somewhere. Oh, yeah, right here in this corner. Panthers, they're not giving up the most yards, but when they're playing this team, as you can see, I mean, obviously these 3 were with Brady, but with Mayfield, it's 162 yards on, what was it here? 7 receptions and getting 12 targets for 40% of the target share. This is a team that Evans is kind of like, just like the Saints is the team he showed against the Panthers, is the team he's done great on. So we took him to get over 62.5 yards, but we also took him in a parlay to get 50, because not only that, if you look at this season, if you change this line to 49.5, he's only missed this line by more than 10 yards twice. He's only missed this by more than 5 yards, 3-4 times out of the season. So he's obviously number 1 target. He's the one they're getting the ball to. I'm very confident in him to get at least 50 here. So that's the big one we're taking. And the other one here we're going to look at is Rachaad White. So there is a reason why I love him. I know the Panthers have had a good running defense, but again, look right here. Right now, currently, they're ranked in the bottom tier. They give up 123 rush yards a game, and 109 of those are going to running backs. This is not a split system. This is a system designed around him running the ball. So we didn't take the 70 because I think there's too much going on. I think they're going to be too hot, and they're going to be trying to push too much. But we took him for 50. Now, the big reason I like this one is, again, look, he hit 50 already once this year. That was a game in slick weather conditions. This is going to be a very windy game. So while I still believe Evans will get 50, I think that this is going to be a more of a run game. So we're going to take his 50 here. If you like the 70.5, by all means, go for it. I think that's a great move. But once again, we're sticking with this one right here. So that's pretty much my best bet for this game. Again, there's a system play. We took the under here. We have the under 36.5 for, I think we did a quarter of a unit because I want to test the system going, because, you know, this isn't just like a regular system. This is a system that's kind of designed around, it's kind of designed around not being, it's too analytical. There's no emotions in it. But the one thing I wanted to bring up here, as you can see, Evans' line is he's 62, 63. He's projected 64, so it's a little too close for me, and that's the main reason we did 50. And it's the same thing for Rachaad White. If you look at his rushing yards now, there's not really much of an edge. It's about even, you know, one good rush, one bad rush can kind of put him over that 70. And that's, again, why I took 50. I think 50 is just a more comfortable number in this situation, and I'd rather be on the other side of it saying, dang, I should have taken this straight up instead of taking an alternate. Now, this next game here, Jets and the Pats, we're passing on this. Everyone's obviously taking the Patriots here. I think the only thing you could take is the under. It's going to be a very snowy game. It's going to be a big run-heavy game, but I just don't think it's worth taking anything in this one. That's too low of a spread to even, like, that's 2 touchdowns from each team, and you're hoping for a tie. So I just think will it go under? It's actually went under in 3 of their last 4 matchups between each other. But the thing is, the Patriots offense has been weirdly good for the last couple of games. Let me find the stat I was just looking at. So in their last 5 games, they've scored 21, 26, 17, 21, and then their 0-point game against the Chargers. And the same thing for the Jets. Although they have backup quarterbacks in, they had 20 against Cleveland, 30 against Washington, shutout against Miami, 30 against Houston, and 8. So these teams are capable of putting up numbers, especially like the Houston one. Putting up 30 in bad weather conditions is big. So that's why I just didn't want to take anything on that game. I wouldn't risk the under there. That line is just too ugly to even look at. Now, Vikings-Lions is another interesting one, and this will be the last one we get to before we head to the break. So the big thing I'm looking for in this Lions game is not only, as you can see, the percentage of bets is pretty split, but the money is heavy on the Vikings to cover. Obviously, Dan Campbell said he's starting everyone, but we don't know how much he's actually going to be playing them. So that is something that's really that's why I didn't want to take anything in this game in terms of player props, because Jared Goff's one of my favorite players to put into parlays, but we don't know if he's going to play the first half, and if they're down like 14-0, they just take him out because they know that this game is meaningless for them. Or do they, try to stick it to a blowout and take a blowout on a division opponent? You can see 83,000 people have bet this game, with a 78% of the money going towards Minnesota here. But the big one I'm looking at, and I caught this earlier, so I would still take it where it's at now, but I'm looking at this over-under right here, and specifically for one thing, and one thing only, is I'm using it in a teaser. So the reason why is this: they have hit 40 or more every single game this year except for one. So taking it at 41 right here, or 40.5, is good. This game last time hit about 50 points, and that's one reason why I like this one. But I'd rather do that and just take the comfort of knowing that these are two teams that are going to play fast. If you want to put in a little bit for David Montgomery to get a touchdown, that's obviously a good play. He's one of their go-to touchdown scorers. He's back today, and I think they're going to have him playing at full strength. So I would really, really, kind of look at that one as put a little bit of money on, or you want to add it to a anytime touchdown parlay. I think that's definitely one you can get to. But other than that, that's all we're taking for that game. Coming up after the break, we are going to go over Jaguars, Titans, Falcons, Saints, and some more of the 4 o'clock window.
My name's Ryan Allison. I've spent over a decade immersed in the art of tattooing. Sharply honing my skills has materialized into a diverse and prestigious body of work. Each tattoo reflects my relentless pursuit of excellence, and every client I work with is a living embodiment of that unwavering commitment. I will gladly and wholeheartedly embrace your distinct vision.
Durham Remodeling has been serving the Quad Cities area since 1973, and with over 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. This family-owned business has you covered on all your needs. Protect your home or building from the elements today and get great roof repair services. Need new windows? No problem. Durham Remodeling can upgrade your windows and doors. Whether you want to upgrade the little details in your home or office, or want to tear a room down and start fresh, the expert contractors at Durham Remodeling have your back. Even the smallest changes can completely transform your space. Ready to start entertaining your friends for backyard barbecues? Durham Remodeling will help you plan, design, and build your deck and patio for the perfect outdoor space. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 today for your free estimate for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715.
Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. So let's go over. This is the biggest one to me that has a lot of incentive for both teams. And I think it's going to be one of those games that they're going to probably have it on a lot if you're a red zone watcher like myself. But I just don't see it having, I feel like it could be a boring game. I think it is going to lean towards the end. But we're going to talk Jaguars, Titans. Now, the big thing in this game is this. The Jaguars, with a win, secure the division. With a loss, the Texans secure the division and home field in the first round. So this is a big game. especially the way they've been struggling. They kind of had a get-right game against Carolina, blew them out 26-0. But on the other side of this, DeAndre Hopkins needs 50 yards to receive, I think it was $1 million bonus. He needs 7 catches for an extra, I think it was $500K. So with that being said, I think there's a couple good props on both sides of this one that we're taking. So let's get into it again. So the money line, I wouldn't touch this money line. I think it's in the spread. I just don't trust either of these teams in that case. The under, it's likely to hit, but these two offenses are rough. But I feel like every time I have taken the under in a Tennessee game, they've scored. I took the under when they played the Chargers, thinking they were going to get blown out like 21-0, and it was like 38-33, and they scored over 70. So player props are going to be the name of the game in this matchup. So as I pull them up now, the first one we are going to take is going to be Calvin Ridley's over on his receiving yards. And the next one we're going to take is going to be, and we had it with a parlay we posted yesterday. So if you didn't catch that, you can still catch this and put it with something else. But the next two are going to be DeAndre Hopkins to get 50 yards and Chiggy Okonkwo over 34.5 yards. Now, Chiggy has been one of my favorite players for betting. I've hated him in fantasy. But let's look at one thing here. His line last week was 28.5. He had 34. He has, if you put the line at that, or even like, let's say, if you don't want to take 34, if you take him at 25, which is at minus 230, that is an easy line to hit against the worst passing defense in the NFL, not named the Commanders right now. Let's look at that. 24.5. He has hit this in all but what? He didn't even, I don't even think he got a target in this game. He had 2 targets against New Orleans. He had 5 games. So if he hits this line today, he'll finish the season 12-5. He's 11-5 on the over of 25 plus yards here. And the big thing I'm looking at is this, as you can see it right here. The Jaguars give up 260 receiving yards a game. Obviously, Derrick Henry is the game plan, and they're going to try to stop that, which means you are going to see a lot of Hopkins, Akide, and Chiggy. But not to mention that they give up 55 yards per game to tight ends. He gets 90% of the tight end target shares. So I love this matchup right here to get 25. If you want to take it, I took it straight up. If you don't, you could take 25 and you could add it with this man right here, DeAndre Hopkins, getting him that bonus at 49.5. Now I'm going to pull it up one more time here. So Chiggy is expected about 33. I think some books even have him closer to 40 yards, but he's expected right around the line that he's at. And so that's why I would take 25 there. But this man right here is going to be on a mission today. Now, he's projected at 57 yards. But this is the perfect time for him to break out after having kind of, I don't want to say like bad weeks, but having a couple weeks where it's not been the best for him. I have some projections having him around 70, some are having him around 55, but I absolutely love this play here for him to get his bonus. Tannehill more than likely will be starting as of last I saw. Let me check the injured list one more time. Yeah, Levis is still questionable. It's a meaningless game for them. I think they start Tannehill here and kind of give him an audition to show some teams what he's worth going into next week. But 50 yards is easy for him. Like I said, bonus, easy money. He needs 7 catches to get his other bonus of over, I think it was like 100 something catches for the year. So that's also in play, but I just don't trust him getting 7 catches. I'd rather trust him getting that 1 extra yard. As you can see right here in the matchup, they give up 161 yards per game to wide receivers, with giving up, again, 261 yards per game, one of the worst teams currently in the NFL in terms of receiving yards. So, I mean, just remember, this is the team that Stroud threw for over 400 on. So, I love this play right here. But now let's break down the big one we have. These two are about half-unit plays each between Chiggy and Hopkins, but this is our 1-unit play from this game, and it is simply Calvin Ridley over 48.5 yards. Now, if you see right here in the line movement section, he started at 51.5 when this line opened 2 days ago, and as it's went on, it came down to 48.5. Now, the reason for that change is because Christian Kirk got listed as questionable. Now, and that's why I wanted to jump on this, because obviously 52.5, 48.5 is not much difference. You could split the middle and take him for 50 there. But if Kirk plays, Ridley will get more attention. I actually saw something earlier today that in games where Kirk has played, his numbers actually go up versus they go down when he's out, because they know, because Kirk is one of their top targets. But head-to-head against this team, look, he had a 103-yard, 7-reception, 2-touchdown game against a team that gives up about 180 yards to just wide receivers alone. I like Kirk to get 50. You could even drop him to get like 40, or, it's like DraftKings and stuff. You could take like 35s, 34s, 30, like stuff like that. You could even put him somewhere in the middle of there and get some kind of solid value out of that. So with that being said, that's going to be the 3 plays I really like here for this game, and just kind of put some of them in with builders. I'm actually checking DraftKings right now to see like what if we took them like alternate, like all 3 on some kind of weird alternate, what it would be at. Let me see. Oh, they won't even let you bet Ridley on there now. You can only take like Chiggy, Hopkins, and Ingram. So they might know something that maybe we don't. So that's something that, as it gets a little closer to game time, watch out for that. But that's what we're taking there. Now let's go over another big game, and that is going to be the Falcons versus the Saints. Now, the big one to look at here is single-handedly this. The money is split about even between 74,000 bettors. The Falcons have 80% of the money. Now, obviously, what's interesting is that when the money goes up like that, you expect this line to go down. You expect this to kind of turn into them being a favorite. They went up a half a point to where 3 can cover. Now, that is something that you really have to look out for. Why is this line staying still when the monies went up? Is it because this is too close of a matchup, or does Vegas know something? Now, obviously, the big one here that we're taking in this game is we took the under in this game, and we did it in our teaser with Detroit. So we have Detroit over 40, and we have under 48.5 in this game. And there is just, there's this game will be too close. The Saints have played pretty much every one of their division games close this year. I think if we look at the schedule in their division matchups, they went under in every single division matchup so far this year. And in terms of the Falcons, who are also a big under, I think they've only went over in 1 game so far this year against division opponents. So this is an obvious underplay here with too much on the line for any of these teams to try to get into the division. The other one can end the season for sure for the other team with a win here. So I'm looking at the under on this one. I took it straight up, but I also took it in the teaser. There's not a lot for player props. You could take London on his receiving yards, drop it between that 25 and 40 mark, I think would be I would say playable. He's had a really good. He plays really good against this team, and their defense has been, fairly susceptible for the most part over the last couple weeks. So that is like definitely something you really want to look at for this. But the big one I like here is Derek Carr and his passing attempts. There's no Kamara today, and I don't think they're going to trust. I don't think they'll trust the arm of, or I don't think they'll trust the run game of Jamal Williams. I think Kendre Miller is still out. I'm double checking that. But Kamara got listed as, it hasn't been updated, but he got listed as out. Kendre Miller is still questionable with an ankle sprain. So I think they're going to trust Olave in the air. I think they're going to trust their tight ends, and they're going to trust the passing game. A sneaky play, if you want to take it, you could take Taysom Hill. A lot of people have been taking Taysom Hill anytime touchdown. It's like plus 300. That could be a good look. But I'm taking Derek Carr's over on his passing attempts. It's 33.5 currently. He's the only time he hasn't hit this line in the division is he had 32 in their last game. So I think this is a game where they're going to need to pass. I think both teams are going to keep it close, and it's going to come down to, a bunch of passes at the end of the game, and especially two teams who are very heavy on 3 and outs. I think that's going to lead to a lot of fast plays, that short drives where they're going to have to throw on third down. So give me the under, give me Derek Carr's passing attempts, and let's move on to the 4 o'clock window. We have, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games left to go over. But we're going to hit 1 or 2 of these, and then we'll go to the break. So quickly off the top of my head, we're not taking anything on this Commanders game that I truly like. The one play we did take was from a friend of mine over at Action Network. He took the Cowboys first half minus 6.5. I do like that one. I think they're going to go out to an early lead and then try to sit everyone. But that one is a small unit play. There's nothing much I would really like for that. The Chiefs game, the only thing I really would take here, if you want to sprinkle on some, I think the Chiefs could win this game, honestly. You could take the +3 if you like it. I personally didn't. You can see not a lot of people are betting it, so it's a smaller sample size than some of these other ones. But Chris Jones needs half a sack to get his bonus, and I think it's like almost $2 million. So I've been trying to find that. I think a lot of books have been kind of hiding that one because it's so easy for him to get. But if you could find that somewhere, then obviously I would take that one easily. Broncos Raiders, we did take the Raiders at -2.5. I'm still comfortable with that, even though the books have been showing a lot of people are favoring the Broncos here. I wonder if there's an injury update that I just did not see. Let me check that real quick. No one that we really didn't already know about. Mayer's not playing; he's on IR. But no one really that we didn't know about. A big one I'm kind of curious. Actually, I'm going to pull it up now with you guys so we can look at this live. Zamir White's rushing yards. What's his line at? His line's at 73.5. And this is a Broncos team that gives up the second most rushing yards. You could take his 50 at 575 for a thing. We might add this one. I think this might be an added play here. I think the way he's played, you could even take his 60 and catch it or drop it down to 70. So I think we're gonna add this pick right here. I like that. We'll put some money on it. But that other than that, I took -2.5. I just think the way the Broncos are playing at home on the road is not good. And they're going against a team that I think a big win here would do a lot for Pierce in his attempt to come back and be the head coach next year. As you can see, look at these trends right here. Broncos and their last 6 road games against the spread, they're 2-4. And you could even look straight up. They don't have the on the road stats, but as an underdog, they're 3-4. Against the spread on the road and as an underdog, they have struggled. And even on the over-under, they have not hit well on this one. So I do like this one. I'm going against the public here and the money. as we take that. Let's see. Everyone took a prop pick. Troutman anytime touchdowns as a wild one, but I'll let DeBundo does a lot of those. So, but that will be it of now. We're going to go to a quick last break, and then we're going to break down the last couple games and stuff that I like for Sunday Night Football.
For frequency's sake, has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Cards Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Enter Pit Row with Rod Villagomez and Fast Money as we win the checkered flag with NASCAR, Xfinity, and truck race winners and props. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? We've got a double dose of action there. The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Want an analytical take? Nick Gurl and the team at Gridiron AI come to you each week with The Lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellows come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance looking at all the day's action. Can't get enough of Joe? He comes to you 3 times a week. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip on into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
Alrighty, so if you haven't got the updates yet, Kamara is officially out, Trevor Lawrence is officially in, and that means I love that Calvin Ridley play even more with Lawrence in. So let's go through these last couple of games before we end today's stream. So Rams-Niners, I don't like anything in this game. I haven't seen anything on if they're sitting anyone. But both these teams don't have anything to play for. There's no McCaffrey other than it being like a rivalry game. No McCaffrey. Jusic is probably not going to play. I think they're going to probably play everyone like the first half, almost like a preseason game. So I wouldn't touch this game. I don't think there's anything worth touching. You notice a lot of bettors are kind of doing the same thing. We got like not a lot of bets on this game, and then stuff like, this one I think is probably the most bet game of the day, the Bears game, but we're Giants, Eagles. I'm not touching this one. I think the Giants cover here, or they at least win, but they've just been playing so terribly. It's not worth touching. The weather in New York right now is not good at all. It's currently snowing, but nothing's sticking, so it's going to make that field even worse. But these teams have weirdly both played well in bad weather, so I'm just going to stay away from this one in general because that means it's going to be a lot of Saquon today, and they cannot stop anyone for some reason. So Bears-Packers, the Packers guarantee a spot with a win here, and they can kind of keep the Vikings out with a win here. The Bears have nothing to play for but Justin Fields playing for his job and these coaches playing for their jobs. I think a lot of people are taking them to win here, but I don't think this is a slack spot for either team. I just wouldn't touch anything here, so I'm staying away from that one personally. But based on the money here, it looks like a lot of people are backing the Bears. That's been a popular trend this year. I think everyone's just kind of waiting for them to go off, but it just hasn't happened. So with that being said, we're just going to stay away from this one. I think the over is definitely in play in Green Bay, but again, not worth touching in my opinion right now. Seahawks Cardinals. Now this line went down. I caught it at minus 170. It's minus 145 right now, and I think the fact that only 23% of the bets are on it, but a lot of more money is on it, has dropped it a bit. I think my projections have it closer to like a minus 130. But I would still take it at minus 145. Seahawks need a win here. That's the thing. They need a big win here. Geno needs a win for his bonus. I think this is a perfect time for them to kind of go off and get that big win that they're desperately needing against a team that's kind of waving the white flag. I also wrote up about it earlier in the week that with the the way this team is, if the Cardinals win, they drop to about the 7th or 8th pick. If they lose, they have a 50% chance of a top 3 pick. So they're probably going to be waving the white flag. I don't think they're going to want to play upsets today. So I would just take the money line straight up for the Seahawks here. Now, the big one is going to be this game right here, Bills-Dolphins. Everyone's in on the Bills. I think with all these Dolphins injuries, it's just hurt them. But the thing is that I don't want to touch either side of this or the money line. The only thing I touched in this game is going to be the under. I took the we also took the under 47.5 in the Seahawks game as well, because the same thing as earlier, the wind conditions and everything are going to force bad weather. But this Bills-Dolphins game, I'm taking the under 48.5 here. I think I caught it at 47.5, but I'll gladly take 48.5. The Dolphins have only had one game this year against a top 10 team that has went over, and that was the blowout to the Ravens. They didn't go over in this Bills game as far as I remember. I think the total was almost closer to 60, and they didn't hit it. But I think this is going to be – both these teams have a lot going into this game, have a lot riding on it, so they're both going to be playing as hard as they can for this division. So I think this game is going to be very close. I think the Bills defense has gotten a little bit healthier since the last time these two teams played. McDaniels might have a couple tricks up his sleeve, but I just don't trust anything in this game other than a nice little low-scoring game. That's going to be probably one of the most fun games to watch on TV. So feed me the under there. But before we go, we're gonna show you guys the full card here as we pull this over right here. So again, we have under 37 for the Browns Bengals game. We got under 36.5 in the Carolina game. We did take the under 30. Once it hit 29, I just didn't want to take it. I'd rather take the void points. We put half a unit on that. We went small unit this week because there's so much going on. I love these bets, but I figured it would be better just to go small unit, save up our coins so when we have the playoffs going, everyone's healthy, we're ready to go. Under 42.5 in the Saints game, Derek Carr over 33.5 pass attempts. We do have a couple basketball plays in here. We got Cleveland Cavs minus 10.5 to the Spurs. We got a 1-unit play on this 2-leg teaser right here. We have our 2-leg parlay that we mentioned earlier, White and Evans 50-plus yards. Ignore the little basketball was there. We got a little money line action and a little spread for Brooklyn. And we have Dallas minus 6.5, Raiders minus 2.5, Seattle to win, and Seattle, Arizona under 47.5. That will be it for us today. That will be our final card of the NFL regular season. Stay tuned, because if we might not have a live stream for you guys next week, but we will have a couple video breakdowns coming out on Saturday and on Sunday, breaking down our best bets for that game. If you guys do want a live stream instead, please let us know in the comments. Make sure you guys like and subscribe the video. It means a lot to everyone here at the network, and let's go have a great day.